Mr. President, I just heard the minority leader of the U.S. Senate come here to the floor to talk about energy, the cost of energy, the impact of what we're doing here legislatively with regard to energy. The minority leader's comments, I would say, were laughable, but if I had to describe them in one word, that word would be rubbish. And let me explain why. Because this week, Senate Republicans are going to continue to point out the benefits of our comprehensive economic plan. And Americans are going to be able to see for themselves how our growth agenda delivers for them what they want, what they need, what they voted for. And they voted for safety and prosperity. This is a 180-degree turn from the past 4 years of high prices and open borders. The Biden administration caused the worst economic disaster in our nation since the 1970s. Democrats went on a tax and spend binge, and they piled job-killing regulations on the economy to a tune of over $1.8 trillion. The reckless spending and the regulatory rampage fueled the worst inflation in 40 years. So when I hear him talk about energy, prices were up across the board by 21% from the day Joe Biden came into office till the day he left. Energy bills climbed 31% as a result of the Democrat policies. Families saw their savings evaporate, families saw their credit card debt skyrocket, and families struggled to keep up. Young families were locked out of home ownership because mortgage rates continued to climb. Over 10 million illegal immigrants flooded into our nation. Millions of these illegal immigrants were given free food, free housing, free phones, free travel, and free health care. The American people have had enough, and they spoke up about it, and they elected Republicans to clean up the mess. We're delivering, and under Republican leadership, America is getting back on track. Inflation is down. Grocery prices are down. Gas prices are down. Wages are up. Jobs are coming back, and consumer confidence is rising. For the first time in the history of polling, a majority of Americans say our country is headed in the right direction. That's in the history of polling. That's what the American public is saying, because the state of our economy is strong. Friday's job numbers just showed more new jobs were created last month than they even expected, than the experts expected. Republicans' comprehensive economic plan is going to make it even stronger. Our plan cuts taxes, it cuts waste and targets waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption. Our plan unleashes American energy, which will continue to bring down prices. At the heart of our plan, of course, is tax relief. Republicans are going to stop a crushing $4 trillion tax increase. This is a tax increase that every Democrat wants and has promised to vote for. That would be the biggest tax increase in American history. Additionally, we are going to eliminate taxes on tips, on overtime, and on Social Security. Now, that's going to be a pay raise for hardworking Americans and for seniors. The Republican plan puts more money in Americans' wallets, pockets, and purses. Mr. President's families will have more money for gas and for groceries and for emergencies. Families will have more money to pay the rent, to pay a mortgage, and to save for their kids' education. Remember, it was Democrats who vowed to vote for a $4 trillion tax increase. They actually said they're going to fight with everything they have to stop us from passing our bill. Our bill prevents that tax increase. How can they look waiters, seniors, bartenders, police officers, firefighters, and admit that they voted to raise the taxes on all these hardworking Americans? And let's not forget why Democrats want to raise taxes. They want to pay for health care for illegal immigrants. That's what they've been doing. Over 1 million illegal immigrants have had health care paid for because of what the Democrats have been doing. Oh, and they want to subsidize electric vehicles that most people don't want, don't need, and can't afford. The question is simple. Are you for stopping a $4 trillion tax increase that will hit every working family in America, the average middle-income family, $3,000 of increased taxes, or are you not for stopping that and letting it go through? Where Republicans are standing with American families, Democrats are opposing them. But specifically, Mr. President, on what the minority leader addressed this morning, which is affordable energy, let's talk about that. Because Americans want, need, and voted for affordable energy. And Americans are starting to feel that relief now that Republicans are in the House, the Senate, and the White House. This Memorial Day, just a week or so ago, gas prices were 50 cents a gallon lower than they were a year ago. You know, you go fill up a vehicle in Wyoming and you're going to save about 10 bucks. Why? Why is it better? Because Joe Biden's war on American energy is over. I'll never forget when Joe Biden told members of his cabinet to prioritize climate over energy that is affordable, available, and reliable. Climate over affordable energy. The mantra of the Democrats. Well, President Trump has taken more than 50 bold actions to unleash and unlock American energy. He's done it onshore, offshore, and in Alaska. He overturned crushing regulations on available, affordable American energy. He took the handcuffs off of our energy workers and our energy producers. Mr. President, I spent Friday in Laramie, Wyoming at the Wyoming Mining Association meeting. People from all around the state and country come together to that annual meeting. And the hardworking men and women of Wyoming are celebrating the actions of President Trump. The Republicans' comprehensive economic plan unleashes American energy like never before. It opens up new federal land and federal waters, leases to all of the above energy production. That means oil and natural gas, coal, geothermal, and critical mineral production. It also refills our strategic petroleum reserve. Remember when Joe Biden drained the strategic petroleum reserve? Why? Because gas prices were so high under his punitive administration. It was the era of massive Democrat inflation. He drained our strategic petroleum reserve rather than allow us to produce more American energy here at home. He drained it to a dangerously low level. It was the lowest level in over 40 years. He actually sold some of our reserves to China. That's the Democrats' approach to energy. Well, Republicans are reversing all of this. Congress is returning to fiscal sanity and energy reality. Both of those were sorely missed the last 4 years. Joe Biden's energy policies were defined by waste, fraud, abuse, and corruption. Look, I investigated Joe Biden's Department of Energy. It was a disgrace. The Department of Energy's loan office funneled billions of dollars in taxpayer money to politically connected wind and solar projects, and specifically to those companies, and one of them is a company known as Sunnova. I describe them as a very shady solar company. Sunnova was called on the carpet for scamming seniors. They targeted seniors, pressured them into signing leases that were impossible to meet. Joe Biden rewarded this malicious behavior by giving them a $3 billion loan, guaranteed by the taxpayers of our country, guaranteed by each and every one of us. $3 billion loan. Thankfully, President Trump was able to pull back part of that loan. Sunnova did spend $371 million of taxpayer dollars. Well, guess what? Just yesterday, Sunnova filed for bankruptcy. Here's the article, Mr. President. I plan to put this in the congressional record in the Wall Street Journal this morning, Tuesday, June 10th. Solar installer Sunnova seeks bankruptcy. Mr. President, the handwriting was already on the wall, but the arrogant, condescending, and elitist personnel in Joe Biden's Department of Energy refused to read it. Well, Republicans need to keep investigating, and we will. We need to finish the job we have started. Today, Republicans in this Senate are unleashing affordable, reliable American energy. It will fuel our prosperity. It will benefit the entire nation. Families will pay lower energy bills. Small businesses will be able to afford to invest and to expand. Our country will no longer depend on dictators for energy and critical minerals. America is an energy superpower. Under Republican leadership, we are acting like it. And that, Mr. President, is why I started my comments by referring to the minority leader's speech this morning about energy as rubbish. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor. Mr. President,
Majority Whip.
I ask unanimous consent to waive the mandatory quorum calls with respect to the Vadum and Hughes nominations.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor. Suggest the absence of a quorum.
The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alston-Brooks.